Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yugioh Everything, and welcome back to another Yugioh 7s video. So we are just 3 weeks away from the start of the 7th Yu-Gi-Oh series, Yugioh 7s. It will be the first Yu-Gi-Oh series done not by Studio Gallup, and we as fans have a lot of questions in regards to this new series. It's probably going to be one of the more polarizing shows via negative reception and via positive reception in the entire franchise. I think there's probably going to be even more hot takes around 7s than there was with Zexal because of the studio changing, because of how young the main cast is, and because of how different the characters look than a traditional Yu-Gi-Oh series. In fact, we've already seen that with a lot of fans. And so I have comprised 5 questions that I have in regards to Yugioh 7s, and I want to start this dialogue with all of you down below, and hopefully you guys let me know some questions that you have prior to the beginning of this new series. I hope you guys enjoy. The first question, and one of the most important questions that I have in regards to 7s, is will Master Duels be a thing? And if they are in this show, how often? So for those of you that are unaware, Rush Duels are going to be the new way to duel in Yugioh 7s. Rush Duels have been getting support. It's a completely new card pool, and we know that Rush Duels are going to be the main focus of this show. Much like Speed Duels were the main focus of Reigns, much like Riding Duels were the main focus of Yu-Gi-Oh 5Ds. But the big question is, will there be regular Master Duels in Yugioh 7s? And I feel like it's a very fair question. So here's the thing, when you look at Yu-Gi-Oh Reigns and you remember Playmaker in the early Speed Duels summoning Decode Talker or Firewall Dragon in the Speed Duels, the Speed Duel cards in the actual TCG and OCG never were released for Decode Talker and Firewall Dragon. The cards that were released for them were their Master Duel format, and in the anime world, you were able to use a Master Duel card in Speed Duels, but we know in the actual OCG and TCG, that is not the case. You cannot use actual cards from the main sets in your Speed Duel format. Yu-Gi-Oh! Reigns broke that rule, but that rule has already been established to not being able to be broken within Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s because the cards that are being printed are cards from Yuga and Luke's decks and from all the characters' decks. Does that make any sense? Like, the cards that were being printed in the Speed Duel format for the TCG and OCG were not Decode Talker. It was not Cyberse Wizard. It was not the cards that were from Playmaker and Revolver and Go's decks, meaning it was very easy for the anime to just kind of cross-contaminate between Master Duels and Speed Duels. Now, there's a chance that if we do have to see a Master Duel, Yuga and Luke or Romin or Gakuto or whoever it may be might just use the cards that they had been using in Rush Duels in your regular Master Duels, but that would mean you would have to print those cards in the OCG and TCG, otherwise they would never be released, because even though those cards are in Rush Duel format and in the Rush Duel game, they wouldn't actually be into the main game. So hopefully I'm making a little bit of sense, but I feel like the differences between Master Duels and Rush Duels in 7s are pretty apparent, and I am worried that this show might be strictly Rush Duels. I hope I'm wrong about that, and I have a feeling I probably will be. I really can't see them only doing Rush Duels since that's a new way to duel, and obviously Master Duels do exist in this world. And the other question is going to be, if we do see Master Duels, how often are they going to be? In Yu-Gi-Oh! Reigns, it took us probably like 10 or 11 episodes before we saw our first Master Duel between Playmaker and Revolver. Will it take maybe 2, 3, 4 months before Master Duels are actually introduced to us? Because Rush Duels are a new type of dueling in the show, in the Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s universe, we know that the regular way to duel is actually going to be a thing. We probably have to hope and assume that Yuga would use a similar deck, whether that means a card like 7's Road Magician, which we know has already been confirmed to be printed in Rush Duels, will have a TCG and OCG counterpart, remains to be seen, but it's something to keep an eye on. Will we see Master Duels in 7s, and how often will we see that format in 7s? Will it be in Master Duel 5? Will the characters use the same cards that they use for their Rush Duels? It will be interesting to see. The second question I have, will the tone of the show be noticeably different? So throughout the 6 Yu-Gi-Oh shows, not including Sevens, I think every show has had a slightly different tone. In Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains, you didn't really have as much comedy as you did in Zexal or Arc 5. Same with 5Ds. 5Ds started super serious. There were some comedic moments every now and again, but it definitely wasn't as comedic as a Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 or a Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal. But even in a show like Arc 5 and Zexal, they had dark moments. I think of Sergei getting beaten to death with a bat. I think of really any of the backstories in the Barry and Onslaught arc. And so even though Zexal and Arc 5 had more comedic elements, they still had that same overall Yu-Gi-Oh! Tone of, oh wow, this stuff got dark really quickly. Will Sevens dip into that, or will Sevens stay pretty tame for the most part? And again, even if there is no dark moments in the show, it still could be an enjoyable show just for other reasons. Yu-Gi-Oh! To me has always been synonymous with, Season 0, that was the origins, with darker moments, with more messed up stuff that can come from playing a children's card game. And Will Sevens kind of nix that in favor of being pretty much a purely comedic show or a purely slice of life show. And again, if they do it right, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. But will the tone of Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens be noticeably different, be noticeably dumbed down from the first 6 shows? We will have to wait and see. And then the third question I have, will the girl lead finally break through? If you are a fan of this franchise, you know for sure that the girl leads in every single Yu-Gi-Oh! Show have always at some point been casted aside as if they were nothing. Starting with Anzu and Kotari, they weren't really duelists. They didn't really get involved too much in the story besides being very good supporting and very good cheerleading characters for the main protagonists. And then Aki, Asuka, Yuzu, and Aoi, they're all different. They all kind of did more disappointing things for different reasons. For Yuzu, she was just cast aside the entire second half of her show. Really, with Aki, it was the same deal. Aoi really needed one big win down the stretch. She did not win a duel in the final, I think it was the final, 90 episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains. And winning and losing is not everything, and I thought she did improve as a character as the show went on in terms of self-esteem, but still, dueling is a big part of progression, and she didn't have any big wins down the stretch at all. She beat Haru, so I am wrong. That was the only win she had in the last 90 episodes, but Haru was a one-off character who dueled literally only once to lose to Blue Maiden. And then finally, you had Asuka, who was kind of there, kind of wasn't, hyped up as this big obelisk blue, the queen of the obelisks, but her dueling record left a lot to be desired. She didn't really have any major wins or any major moments by herself, and, they were all kind of disappointing in a way. Is this the show where Romin breaks through and is one of the greatest girl characters by a mile that we have ever seen in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a running trope that girls get mistreated in Yu-Gi-Oh! Shows for the last 2 decades. The fact that we have a new studio, the fact that we have brand new writers, could mean that Romin will finally take that next step that the Yu-Gi-Oh! Girl leads just cannot seem to do. And I think that's going to be a very interesting thing to keep an eye on. Will it be classic, typical Yu-Gi-Oh! Or will it be, wow, they actually had their main girl do something really, really important? And then fourth, will there be obvious references and odes to past shows throughout the anime? Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens is being billed, it's still being hyped up as a 20th anniversary show, celebrating the 20th anniversary, which I know a lot of fans do not like that tagline because they changed studios, the show, the characters look so much different. And I completely understand that. And when we heard that this was going to be a 20th anniversary show, we thought that it was going to be maybe a massive crossover, maybe a sequel to one of the older shows. They did not go in that direction, and rightfully so. It did annoy and infuriate a lot of fans. But in the first episode, we have a character that looks like Kaiba Man. We know his name is the Hologram Man. He is summoning Blue Eyes White Dragon. That's clearly a reference to Seto Kaiba. Will there be other references to the other rival characters or odes to the past Yu-Gi-Oh! Shows? I think that could be a cool way to still somewhat celebrate the 20th anniversary of the franchise in their own way. If you have characters that look like Revolver, Jack Atlas, Kaito, Reiji, and maybe they summon their ace monsters in Rush Duel format and Yuga has to go up against hologram versions of them. I think that would be really cool. And then finally, accessibility. And this is important. Will there be a simulcast and will there be an English dub? The Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains English dub has still yet to be released over here in the States. I believe they have released about 70 episodes in Canada and Australia and countries where the English dub is viewable. So they're still working on the Vrains dub. When the Vrains dub finishes, will they do an English dub for Sevens? I believe that they will. I have decent sources that have told me that they probably will. So I'm excited for that. And then if there is an English dub, will there be a simulcast? We really got spoiled as Yu-Gi-Oh fans last year, guys. Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains had a simulcast, meaning when the episodes aired in Japan, they were subbed an hour later, and they were subbed thanks to Konami Cross Media. 4K Media, Konami Cross Media, same thing, they just changed their name. They were the company responsible for subbing and uploading the episodes to Crunchyroll. So that's why an English dub is important. If they don't do an English dub, they might not be in charge of a simulcast. And if they don't do a simulcast, we probably will not get a simulcast. And if we do not get a simulcast, how are we going to watch Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens? Are we going to have people in the community subbing the episodes and uploading them on third-party sites 2 or 3 days after they air in Japan? Or will we have to wait maybe sometimes 2 to 3 weeks for the episodes to be subbed? There's a lot there that kind of scares me when I think about the possibility of no simulcast, but hopefully everything will work out, and Crunchyroll in the next few days will announce a Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens simulcast. And that about wraps it up. Those are 5 burning questions I have about Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens. And please let me know whether you also have these questions going into the show. Let me know some other questions that you may have. And if you want to make predictions on any of these questions, I think that's also very exciting. So definitely do your best to answer the questions or kind of predict how this show is going to play out in regards to the questions and concerns that I have for Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens, and leave your own, certainly, down below. A special thank you to my Platinum tier patrons Alexa Baker, Glen McGookin, Jorge Carrillo, Horace Maye, Goosey Q, Vincent Van Der Veen, Panther J, Smith620, Jorge Leon, Blue Maiden 28, Jarrett Buller, and Gabe G, and to my Diamond tier patrons Jesse Wood, Latrell Smith, Sean, and Melinda Phantom, and to my Egyptian God tier patron Syn Cloud. Thank you to everyone who supports me on Patreon, and to everyone who is a YouTube channel member. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it, and how much it truly helps out the channel. I will talk to you all down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day.